Good morning. Recently I was talking to some people about my in-garden greenhouse and the changes that I had made to it. For those of you who don't know, this is a Mittleider garden in the garden greenhouse, and it is used to extend your growing season before your last frost of the year and after your first frost of the year. During the process of having this in my garden, I've learned several things, and that has dictated the changes that I have made. Initially, where you see these, I can get my finger in the screen, where you see these boards here in the middle, there is a board on the outside, and it is a 1x, and the board on the inside is a 2x4. It's all treated lumber. Those weren't there originally, and I don't think it's in the book. This is coming out of the Mittleider Gardening Course book. This side, you can't see all of it in the frame, but it is 30 feet long. The in-garden greenhouse is 30 feet long, and with everything up, it's 8 feet wide. There's 2 grow boxes inside of it, and I'll get inside here in a little bit and you'll be able to see it. Let this truck pass. Anyway, with the sides down, when a big wind would come up, that was a 30-foot long sail, and if that wind was coming at it crossways, it just about pulled all my plastic off. Originally, up here at the top, and this is a 1 piece of greenhouse plastic. It is 6 mils, and it is UV protected so that it won't break down in the sun. I digress. Here at the top, it was secured at the top with a piece of 1x2, and with the sides rolled down in a heavy wind, that wind had enough force that was actually pulling that plastic through, in between rather, that 1x2 and the 2x4 that it was screwed into. There's a 2x4 on the back side here, which is on the inside of my in-garden greenhouse. The sides weren't so bad, but it did stress the plastic on the sides. It was here in the middle where I was getting the most pull, and it was stressing my greenhouse plastic. So after that first wind passed, I came out and I added, get my finger in, there we go. I added the 2x4, and that 2x4 is on the inside of that plastic, on the inside of the greenhouse, and it is buried 15 inches down, just like the 4x4s. And if you're not familiar with this, you'll see the 4x4s when I go inside. I did not like the 1x2, so I went and bought treated deck board, which is a 1x6 board. I ripped them in half, and I used those to screw through the greenhouse plastic and to the structure on the inside. And this 1x3, and I've alternated the screw pattern in a zigzag fashion, so here, 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 like that, and it has got that greenhouse plastic nailed down, and it does not move in a high wind. We've had some 30 and 40 mile an hour wind, and my plastic has held up wonderfully. And again, this is going on 2 years that I've had this in the garden now. At the bottom, underneath the dirt, is, well, you can kind of see it. There's another board here. Initially, I had used the 1x2 as well in 8-foot lengths, and had sandwiched the plastic between the 2 1x2s and had screwed them together. And I used that 1x2 at the bottom to roll the plastic up, and it worked okay. There was a lot of flex in that 1x2, and what I had bought initially was not treated. And even just in half a year time, the first 6 months that it was up, you could see that that wood that wasn't treated was breaking down. I took it off, and I used some 16-foot length 1x6 deck boards. I ripped them in half as well, and I have placed those on there. They're sturdier, there's not as much flex in the wood, there's only one seam where there was 3 seams with the 8-foot lengths. The 1x3 is too big. I can't roll it up by myself anymore. It takes two people to roll the sides up. Of course, before you roll the sides up, you've got to take these boards out here and the one on each end. You have to take those off before you can roll it up. If I were to do it again, I think I would go with a 1x2. I would use the treated deck boards in a 16-foot length and cut the excess off of one. Of course, we're going 30 foot and two 16-footers is 32 feet, so you're going to be cutting off 2 feet from one end. And I have alternated the joints, so there would be a joint here, and on the back side the split would be over here 2 feet away. That way the seams are not right over the top of one each other, and it makes it a little bit sturdier. Alright, let me shut this down and go inside my greenhouse and show you what I have done differently inside. Before I go in, this is David Gilmour's design here, using this PVC to secure the plastic. My greenhouse plastic is one sheet. It covers both ends, both sides, and the top in one continuous piece of plastic. It has worked well. You can see I use it a lot, and unfortunately it does kind of tear and break down the plastic after lots and lots of usage. It still works, it still holds up, it still holds in most of the heat. I like it, and I'm going to continue to use it until I can figure out something that I actually like better that's easy to use. And all I have to do to get in here is grab this 1/2 inch piece of PVC and pull it out of the 3/4 inch that I've cut, and that's what it looks like. Okay, now let me get in here. Alright, back to my in-garden greenhouse. This is the inside of my structure. I'm holding it up with 4x4 material that is built into an A-frame. The pieces that I have added are these 2x4s on the outside. There is one on each end. There. There's one on each end, and there is another one in line with it every 10 feet with my 4x4s that is my A-frame structure. And it is these 2x4s on the outside that I'm screwing the 1x3 treated deck board through that board, through the greenhouse plastic, into this 2x4. And that is sandwiching that plastic so it will resist a high wind. For a high wind event, you either have to have the sides down and secured or rolled up all the way. If they're rolled up all the way, it will weather just fine in a wind. Of course, it's too cold here still for me to have my sides rolled up, or they would be up. The other change that I have made is, okay, here I'm standing underneath a 4x4 A-frame that bears the weight for all of my crops that I'm growing vertically. And I do, well, it don't matter what I do. This 2x4 here is not in the plans in the book, and that is 5 feet from each A-frame support, and it's doing two things for me. First off, I've got a hole drilled through it, and I've got my number 9 wire going through it. When I'm growing my crops vertically, especially stuff like tomatoes, it can get 10, 12, 15 pounds of tomato on each plant that's spaced 9 inches apart. There can be a lot of weight on this wire. I have added this, I put the wire through it, and it helps to support that weight. Instead of having a 10-foot span where all the weight is supported with only those 4x4s, I've got this 2x4 in here halfway, and it's helping support that weight. The other thing it has done is when you add your PVC for your arches, those arches will push out on your 2x4 here, and that's a 10-foot length of treated 2x4. But it will push that out. I had as much as 1.5 feet difference in the middle here as compared to right there at the 4x4 where it was pushing that out. I put a rope on it, pulled it back together, and was just able to put that back in here. If you start with this in here, when you start adding your PVC for your arches, it won't push it out and it's going to be a uniform size. Don't go with this insulation, pipe insulation. It's a pain in the butt to keep on there. It breaks down in the sunlight. It does not last long. Paint your PVC. Put a white coat of paint on it or whatever you have got that prevents the off-gassing from the PVC from deteriorating your greenhouse plastic. I didn't paint it, was in a rush, and I tried this as a fix. It doesn't work. Don't do it the way that I did it. One additional piece of information that I might provide you with is these corners. And you can see it, that black stuff there, and I've got that at each sharp edge where my, I haven't weeded yet. There's more of it back there. Every sharp edge of the wood that might work through the greenhouse plastic, I've got an old piece of inner tube that I got for free from a tire place. I asked for a piece that's got a hole in it, they'll give it to you. I double it up, I stapled it to that wood, and that provides protection over the sharp corners so that you don't get any holes rubbed into your greenhouse plastic. And there's my eye bolts to tension my number 9 wire with. I've got some on each end, and that way I can take up any slack that I've got in my number 9 wire. Anyway, there you go, Michelle. I hope that helps, and if you have any other questions, just let me know.